What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this one, we have why we won't raise our kids in suburbia from Not Just Bike's channel. Absolutely incredible freaking content. Before we dive in, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, get a video a thumbs up. Also, if you like to support this channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit that join button to receive your exclusive benefits. I feel like they ain't gonna raise their kids in suburbia. For some reason, I feel like cars are gonna be the reason. I feel like it's gonna be because of cars. But let's get.
I grew up in a car-infested city called London, Ontario, Canada. But we don't want to raise our kids in an environment like this, and we moved to Amsterdam instead. So why is that? One thing you immediately notice when coming to the Netherlands is that there are a lot of children around. You'll routinely see even young children cycling to school, playing with their friends, and just hanging out in the city. The Dutch are famous for having the happiest kids in the world, and a big part of that is the fact that they can literally have chocolate sprinkles for breakfast. But the other big factor is the level of independence that children have here.
I feel that.
I got used to seeing children everywhere, so it was amazing to see the difference the first time I returned to my hometown in Canada.
Wow.
I drove around several residential neighborhoods, and while I occasionally saw some kids in the park with their parents, I never saw any children out on their own, and that's really sad.
Fact, because it's suburbia, bro. When he's driving through these, like, I don't know. I expect to see some houses, not all houses, but some houses like a basketball goal outside, some kids playing basketball or playing catch or riding their bikes around, or because it's a suburban neighborhood. It's not like it's a ton of cars driving through constantly. It's not like they're out in some more busy suburban neighborhood. So that's interesting.
I've talked to some parents from suburban Canada about why they don't let their children out on their own, and they usually say it's because it's too dangerous. One person even said somebody could come along with a white van, scoop them up, and nobody would even notice. Now, that's insane because Canada is one of the safest countries in the world and abductions by strangers are exceedingly unlikely. So why do people think this?
Media.
Well, there are various reasons for this cultural change, including an increase in fear-mongering media, but this is an urban plan.
I tell you, media, bro, just pushes it, and so many people are afraid, and it's like, bro, not that many people are out here kidnapping. But when the media gets into the fear mongering, you're scared to let your kid out of your sight.
Channel, so we're going to talk about the reasons linked to city design because there are a lot of them. In her famous book, The Death and Life of Great American Cities, Jane Jacobs refers to an effect she calls eyes on the street. Essentially, it means that people feel safer to be in places with many other people, like here, in this suburb of Amsterdam. By comparison, North American-style car-dependent suburbia is desolate for people outside of a car. It's depressing to walk there, and I know, because I've done it a lot in the process of filming these videos.
I feel that.
I'm almost always the only one out walking, and I definitely get the feeling that if something happened to me, hundreds of people would drive by without even noticing.
Agreed.
So it shouldn't be too surprising that some parents are uncomfortable having their children walk in an environment like this.
Yeah, it's way too many cars out there. Like, not only could something happen, but it's just so many cars. Like, sometimes kids act the smartest on planet Earth.
Now, there's another safety reason that's a bit more rational. Canadian and American cities are really dangerous for pedestrians. While overall traffic fatalities in developed nations have generally fallen steadily since the 1970s, in the US and Canada, a big part of this was achieved by putting almost everyone inside of a car. But while people inside of cars may be safer, pedestrian deaths have increased significantly in the past few decades due to an increase in car traffic, larger trucks and SUVs, distracted driving, and higher vehicle speeds. Ultimately, these unsafe roads lead to a vicious circle. Parents are more likely to drive their children everywhere because it's not safe due to all the cars.
Facts.
But in doing so, they're adding one more car to the problem and making it even less safe. I'd like to point out that this is a unique problem caused only by cars. I mean, Nobody ever kept their kids from walking to school just because too many people took the tram. But
I feel
also,
that.
it's impractical for children to go anywhere on their own in a place like this.
Yeah.
Suburbia is car dependent. That means it's
Yeah.
almost impossible to get anywhere without a car. So even if you wanted your child to
100%. Everything's so far away. That's spread out. I mean, in Canada's a humongous country. You feel me? Like it's very big, so it's not as compact as the Netherlands is, where you can walk and get to a lot of places very easily. But like you said, first off, it's dangerous. All these cars, and second, everything's just too far away to walk. You need a car.
walk somewhere, they simply can't. It's either too far or it's not feasible because of a lack of sidewalks.
Yeah.
When I have discussions with people from my suburban hellscape of a hometown, they usually agree that the city is quiet and soul-crushingly boring, but they will inevitably say, "But it's a good place to raise children." I completely disagree. Suburbia may be a good place to shelter toddlers, but as soon as a child is more than about 6 years old, being trapped in a McMansion on the edge of town seriously inhibits their growth and independence.
Hmm.
They might be able to walk to a friend's house if they're lucky enough to live somewhere with a sidewalk, but they're unlikely to be able to walk to school or
Oh
anywhere else
yeah.
for that matter. In the Netherlands, 60% of children walk or cycle to school
Jeez.
compared to 28% in Canada. Mostly those kids who live in the few remaining walkable pre-war neighborhoods that would be illegal to build today due to modern zoning. But when I was a kid, that number was 58% in
Yeah,
Canada.
I was gonna say when I was a kid, bro, so many people were like out. So many kids were walking to school. Like you had your bus riders, you had your car riders, and you had your walkers. And there were so many kids that walked, just walked. But like I said, times have changed from my childhood, and a lot of fear mongering and all that. And parents ain't having that.
Almost identical to the Netherlands today. Look at these Canadian kids walking through their rural school in the 1920s, through the snow, uphill both ways. Yeah, that never happens anymore. This is the bicycle parking lot of a typical middle school in Amsterdam. And
Oh,
this is the bicycle
dang!
parking lot of an elementary school. It is obvious here that the majority of children arrive on their own bicycles.
Yeah,
I'm constantly hearing excuses from North Americans as to why kids can walk or cycle to school in the Netherlands but not in Canada, and it's usually some nonsense about the weather or the hills.
mm,
Do either of these things explain the massive drop in the number of kids walking to school in Canada? Did Canada's weather get worse in the past 40 years?
nah.
Did the hills get higher? No, of course not. But we did stop building family-friendly housing anywhere that wasn't car dependent.
I feel
Meanwhile,
that.
here in the Netherlands, it's not just kids in cities who cycle to school, it's everywhere. Bicycle Dutch has several videos showing dozens of children cycling long distances to school in suburbs, towns, and villages. And it's more than just school, too. Kids have lots of sports and other activities, so in the Netherlands, it's very common to see children walking or cycling while dressed in football gear, not that kind of football, or hockey gear, not that kind of hockey,
What kind
because
of
they travel to all
hockey?
these activities by themselves.
Oh, that's why they travel to. Yeah, that would help so many parents here in North America with such busy schedules who don't have the time. Yeah, all right. Hey, you got everything you need. Cool. Go ahead and go. Don't be late. Have fun. Get home safe. Dang. Yeah, we can't do that. We got to take them to practice. Some parents will drop them off, but we'll probably stay there, watch them practice, then come back. Bring them
In the
back.
US and Canada, you have the stereotype of the suburban soccer mom, the mother who spends all of her time shuttling her kids around from school to activities to
Yeah.
playdates and back. Because until a kid is about 16 years old and has their own driver's license, they need to be driven around everywhere by their parents, and this is considered normal.
Yeah.
Is it any surprise that kids in the US and Canada don't get enough exercise? I
No.
can't blame them for wanting to stay inside playing video games all day when outside looks like this.
Facts.
These
Facts.
problems originate in car-dependent suburbs, but unfortunately, decades of suburbanization have changed the overall culture where now many Canadians don't believe it's safe for any children to be out on their own. So, even if you could afford to live in one of the very few remaining walkable neighborhoods, you still can't give your children the independence they deserve. For example, here in Amsterdam, we started allowing our children to go to the park without us when they were 9 and 6 years old. This is totally normal and accepted in the Netherlands. If we let our children do this in Canada, we would literally have someone call the police, or worse. Now, you might think I'm exaggerating, but there are stories about this happening all over the US and Canada. And the one that angered me the most was the story of Adrian Crook.
What happened?
Adrian is a father of 5 children and lives in downtown Vancouver, Canada. He has always been a vocal advocate of allowing kids to have their independence and has written about how walkable urban city design makes this easier and more practical. As part of this effort, Adrian and his kids would ride the bus to school every day. He
Okay.
did this with them for 2 years, but in
Okay.
2017, he started letting them do it on their own.
Okay.
A short time later, he was anonymously reported to the Ministry of Children and Family Development.
That's crazy.
The whole story is available on his blog that I'll link to below, but in the end, the ministry decided that children under the age of 10 could not be unsupervised in or outside of the home for any amount of
Yeah.
time. And
Oh
if Adrian let
wow.
any of his children out unsupervised again, even to go to the store across the street, his children would be taken away from him.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, under 10, bro. I was riding to the park. I was riding to the gas station, to the corner store down the street. I was I was riding across town to my grandma's, to my friends. Like, of course, things have changed now, and probably is like Adrian's situation now where you can't have that. But it's insane. It is literally insane. I can't believe it.
Adrian literally had to spend 3 years of his life suing the Ministry of Children and Family Development
Wow.
just to allow his children to have some independence. And if you think that's insane, in Ontario, the province where I'm from, children legally cannot be on their own until they're 16 unless, quote, adequate supervision is provided.
Yo.
When I was a kid, adequate supervision was, say, having the phone number of a neighbor. But the problem is, what constitutes adequate supervision is becoming increasingly strict and arbitrarily applied. This article has examples from all over Canada, where child welfare investigations were started because, for example, a 9-year-old walked to school on her own, or because a mother allowed her children to play in the fenced backyard of their own house while she was watching them from inside.
That's
Now, you might
that is absolute bonker, bro. People are so into everybody's business. Like, if a mother letting their kids play in her fenced back, that one is shocking to me. That's probably the most shocking one. Kids playing in a fenced backyard would get reported. The mother would get reported. Is insane.
say that these visits from police or social workers are just overreactions and it's better to be safe than sorry. But these social workers have the power to literally take your
Yeah.
children away from you. You're crazy if you don't think this has a chilling effect that ultimately limits the independence of children in North America. Personally, I have absolutely no interest in finding out the hard way what the currently accepted definition of adequate supervision may be when it comes to keeping custody of my children.
I feel that. I feel that.
Unfortunately, the solutions to these problems are not easy because they involve changing not just cultural issues, but also the fundamental design of North American cities and suburbs. Traditional mixed-use walkable neighborhoods have a multitude of benefits, but walkability is nearly impossible to retrofit on top of car-dependent suburbia.
True.
And the last few remaining walkable places in the US and Canada are in such high demand that they're completely unaffordable to most people.
True.
Of course, we're also not building any more walkable places like this in Canada because they're illegal to build due to zoning and car-centric regulations like minimum parking requirements. So, what was built 100 years ago is it. We're not getting any more. And if you can't afford it, too bad.
Yeah. That's
There's
how
this
it is.
insane myth in North America that when you have kids, you need a car and you need to live in suburbia, when the exact opposite is true. What children really need is fewer cars because cars are dangerous, especially for children. Plus, newsflash, kids can't drive, but they can walk or cycle, though only if it's safe. Here in the Netherlands, almost all new neighborhoods are walkable, and some of them are even car free.
Mm.
Unsurprisingly, you see kids traveling on their own and playing together in the streets. So a few years ago, my wife and I had to make a decision. What kind of life did we want for us and, more importantly, for our children? And the solution seemed pretty clear. We moved to the country with the happiest kids in the world. I'd like to take this opportunity.
Y'all talk to me in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. I feel like in suburbia, bro, at the very least, there should be kids. I don't know. When I ride around suburban neighborhoods in the U.S., I expect to see some basketball goers, kids outside playing in the yard. Maybe they can't go outside of the yard, but it's playing in the yard, and the parent doesn't have to be out there. But to freaking the one who got the people call for her kids playing in the backyard while she watched from inside, that's ridiculous. That's all we've got, though. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, check out the next. I'll see y'all next time.